Welcome back, everyone. In this Noita 101, we are going to learn how multicast work on wands, and let's hop into it. So first, we have this wand right here. And what's going on this wand is the cast delay is really good, but the recharge time is less than desirable. It is a 5-cast wand, so what that means is it's going to cast 5 spells at the same time. It is also a no shuffle. If it's a shuffle wand, I have no fix for them yet. Maybe there's going to be a fix, but for now, they're just, yeah. But, so how this is going to fire right now is almost good, but we can make it better. So let's fire it off and see what it does. So it's pretty decent. It's not incredible by any means, but if we throw a modifier or a multicast at the end of this, it's going to wrap around. So the things that are fixing the recharge time on this wand are reduced recharge time and these 2 digging bolts, which reduce the recharge time by 17 each. And then we have this chainsaw, which reduces it by 17. So if we want to get the benefits of what everything will give it, we are going to throw a double spell, and then that's going to wrap around and get those benefits again. So now it's going to fire something like this. Quite a bit different. And you can do that with a modifier. If you only have one reduced recharge, you could probably just throw it at the end. And you can do something like that, or you could throw a modifier at the end. Whatever would go and wrap around, you can use to wrap this. So it's not too practical that you're going to try and fix a multicast wand, but if you do, it is pretty rewarding. I mean, having it fire like this, it's nice, it's firing pretty fast, but having it go from that to this is pretty satisfying. So let's pick up these spells, and I'm gonna put these at the end. Ooh, not that one. Another thing that fixes the recharge time is heavy spread. So heavy spread, usually you would try and avoid it because it gives 720 spread, which is pretty ridiculous. So if we put it right here, it'll fire like this. You cannot aim this. It is almost impossible to aim it. But let's wrap with it, and then suddenly it's pretty ridiculous now. You can fix the wand like this, and let's say we're using a damage field as a modifier, but every time the spell block is called upon, it's going to have this heavy spread, so it won't fire any in this where we're aiming. But if we were to do the same and swap it to here, when it wraps around, it'll add the spread, but not for the first block. The first block is going to cast normally, so it's going to cast all of this normally. And that's why you can see a steady chain forward. Obviously, this is pretty mana hungry because it has a damage field and that costs 30 mana. But, I mean, with these stats, and this is a wand that I found on the second floor, I believe it was. So it would be pretty common that you have all these materials to fix it. And yeah, damage is pretty high up there. We could probably even take that off, and still we're able to wrap with heavy spread, and our mana isn't even going down now that we took the damage field off. And we can even throw, let's say, a glowing lance. So the problem is, if we throw a glowing lance here, there's 6 spells on. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's going to end on this bubble spark. And for point of reference, we're going to swap this bubble spark with the lance. And so now the last spell is going to be this lance. And as you can see, lance adds 0.33 on cast delay. So it's going to fire something like this. Let's say we didn't have the chainsaw on there. We just had the lance. And this is what it's going to fire like. And why is that? Because the chainsaw was actually taking all that castellet and putting it on itself. And so it was getting rid of it. So let's throw this back on here. And if we want to swap one of these spells out, we have to swap out either the Spitter Bolt or the Bubble Spark, because these two are on there to fix the recharge time. So we're going to swap it out. Let's get rid of the Bubble Spark. And we'll throw it right here. And then it's going to fire amazingly. It has a little bit of knockback. And also, since it has 360 spread, it's pretty likely you'll hit yourself if you're not like firing upwards or if you don't have reduced knockback. So not the safest wand, but by all means it's something very possible, and you don't even have to use Glowing Lance. I was just using it for an example. You could use Luminous Drill, and then you have a not a great digging wand, but it can eat through anything because it's a luminous drill. And yeah, there's so many different ways to fix a multicast wand, but it's a lot more complicated than just throwing 5 spells on. And likewise, let's say we didn't get a chainsaw. Let's throw all the castellet on this luminous drill, and it's pretty close to chainsaw. So if we threw this back on here, oh, actually, I think we had a Bubble Spark, but regardless, it'll do the exact same thing. And we could even swap it back. As long as the last spell does not, like, add that castellet, you should be fine. All right. Well, now that we've gone over the very basics of this wand, let's hop over and see what other stuff we can do. So I do have 2 wands now. The first one being this wand, and is a triple cast. All these wands I have found, and I want to fix wands that you can find in the game and use them as a point of reference for when you're trying to fix your own wands. So this one is a triple cast, and this one has quite a bit more recharge time. This one has 3.27 recharge time. It is a triple cast though, so what we can do is break it up into 3 blocks. So we have this first block, which is the manas on these recharge times, on these heavy spreads, on these cement, water, and Spitter Bolt. And so that is the first block right there. And then the second block is going to be Digging Blast, Luminous Drill. And then the third block is this Glimmer that's going to wrap around and grab that first block again. So it's going to fire something like this. So we're suffering from the same issue we were describing on the first wand. And since the only thing making this wand not reliable or all that usable is the fact that it's suffering from heavy spread, that's only on the first block. So that's only these Spitter Bolts. So you know what we can do? We can just swap it with this Digging Blast, and then there we go. Problem solved. Now the Spitter Bolts aren't being flung around. We obviously don't get the benefits of seeing the nice glimmer on the water and cement, but it is on the Digging Blast that we can't really see. But it's not amazing for damage by any means, but if it's the only wand you have to work with, then you can use it. However, there's another 2 things that you can do with it. If you use a trigger, it will also make sure that this stays in its own little wrap. And so you can use a trigger to wrap into, like, let's say we had a Spitter Bolt right here as well. And then not only is this trigger wrapping and getting us benefits, it's also hitting it with the Spitter Bolt because it's not being affected by the heavy spread. So it's something really neat. Like I said, multicast wands are usually a little bit more complicated and not everyone's cup of tea. There is another thing you can do with them, and that is using a no shuffle reset. So let me set this up real quick. So I fixed up this wand, and what we're going to do is a no shuffle reset. So you can do this with any wand, and it's obviously called a no shuffle reset because you have to have a no shuffle wand. But we have this right here. So it's going to cast 3 spells. It's going to cast these 3, and then it would cast this black hole. But we can reset it so that it will only cast these 3 and keep it up like that so that we can get the benefit out of rapid firing this. So obviously they have knockback on these, but we could do something like this, click it, and then swap to a different wand, and then swap back, and then it'll be reset. So you can do that real quick. I have not been very good at no shuffle reset since I haven't had to deal with it in a long minute, but yeah. The only thing holding you back on a no shuffle reset is the cast delay. Well, if you don't reset it, then it will cast the next spell in the chain block, obviously, which was Black Hole. So that was my bad. But you can also do this by going into inventory. So if you don't have another wand, you can do it with inventory, and it'll reset. So it is extremely useful, especially if you don't want to use any of your precious spells that you have on there, or if you just want to use the extra 2 spaces to pick up new wands. So it is something very useful to keep in mind, and this can be done with almost every multicast wand, as long as it has 1 less spell than its max capacity. So let's say this had 13 spell cast. We'd throw on 13 spells and then have our last one be whatever we want to reset on. So yeah, something to keep in mind with these multicast wands. Now we get into this wand. So what's going on here? This one is just to reiterate that you can use a lot of stuff to fix multicast wands, and this actually would add cast delay, and it does quite a bit of damage for its mana cost, and this wand is going to cast quite a bit sporadic, and we're also using blood and acid. So acid, obviously, it'll spawn a little pixel of acid, and then blood will do the same. Once blood runs out, you don't have the benefits that it gives. So the minus cast delay and minus recharge time will not be applied if this is out of stacks. You can get more stacks if you have unlimited spells with it, though. So let's fire this off. Something's wrong. We have this heavy spread in the wrong area. There we go. Now we can at least aim it a little bit. Like I said, the first block is not going to be affected by it, but this second block will, since the heavy spread will be applied to it and fix the stats that way. Also, these are the stats of this wand, 2.2 on recharge, and 0.12 on cast delay. Yep, exactly as I was saying. Since we ran out of blood, we can no longer rapid fire it, which is unfortunate, but is why we have these spells right here. And let's swap out this chainsaw and these two, just to show for example. And do we need this heavy spread? Let me find out real quick. Yes, so we were fixing the stats with that heavy spread. It looks like we didn't need that much to fix the recharge time. I think we could have fixed it with another chainsaw. But in order to do that, we would have to have a multicast, so we could throw a chainsaw like right here, and then there we go. It does run out of mana, and why would that be? I bet it's because it's probably because of this luminous drill. It costs quite a bit of mana, but more likely it's just this magic arrow. Yeah, we could take off this magic arrow. And since we have 8 spells, this one isn't actually counted as a spell since it's out of charges. And that's why it doesn't fire all that fast. But if we swap it for something that does, there we go. We can drench everything in acid. It's almost like we have acid trail. All right. Well, those are for the very basic wands. Let's hop into the finale wands. Of course, there's going to be finale wands now that we're learning everything in Noita. So let's show off what you can do with multicast wands. All right. So we have this tower wand right here. It's a 26 cast. It used to be a 25 cast, and I'm glad they changed it to a 26 and 26 capacity. That extra slot definitely makes a difference. I know it sounds like I'm memeing, but it really does. It's fantastic. But what this does is it casts everything in its pool. So it's going to cast all of these arrows. I don't even know how many arrows there are. There's quite a few arrows. I won't spend time counting them, but it's also going to go into this reduced recharge time into this chainsaw. And so what we need to fix on this wand is recharge time. And since arrows also add cast delay, we want to make sure that the arrows get cast before the chainsaw fixes the cast delay. So if we were to swap it with one arrow, all the cast delay from this arrow is going to be added. So 0.17 will be added, but now none will be added. So with reduced recharge time, like I said, it fixes it by 0.33, and then chainsaw fixes it by 0.17. So there's 0.02 of recharge time that's not being fixed, but that's perfectly fine because it fires plenty well fast enough. And we have a heavy shot right here. Obviously, we need all the manas to make sure that we can cast these arrows. And so let's do something like this. It's pretty strong. And you can swap these spells out for anything that your heart desires and make a rapid fire shotgun with it. Since these also have reduced spread, it's not going to be a shotgun, but if we were to swap it with other spells, it will shoot out in a different pattern. We can also take off the heavy spread, just for point of reference. It does about 300, 400 damage. We're covering it in arrows, so I mean, we can't even hit the test dummy anymore. We'll make a block of arrows on it. And then we also have these 2 spells right here. These don't have anything to do with the training, but I thought they looked super nice, and we finally can unlock them for realsies. And if you want to find out how to unlock Rainbow Trail, you can definitely check out Fury Forge's video. But for now, it's pretty fantastic. So let's cast this wand, and likewise, if we were to break up the spell block, you can do that with a trigger, a timer. In this case, we're using a timer. And it's going to cast Summon Tentacle, Summon Tentacle, Summon Tentacle, and then in those blocks, it's going to cast a Spiral Arc, Luminous Drill, and Spiral Arc, Luminous Drill, Spiral Arc, Luminous Drill. So that's one way to avoid adding cast delay as well, is if we put it in its own spell block. Currently, it doesn't matter because we have this chainsaw back here, and if we were to take this from this one and put it over here, then suddenly we fix the recharge time on this, all that we need. So without further ado, let's cast this wand. pretty fantastic. Is it practical? Probably not. But once you've actually achieved this wand, practicality kind of goes out the window. You kind of just look for making the funnest setup. And if we didn't have the chainsaw at the very end, this is how fast it'll cast. I'm holding the mouse down, by the way. So that is the single most reason why you want to wrap into the very last spell. So you always want a multicast wand to cast something that's going to either fix cast delay or not add cast delay. Because if it adds cast delay, then everything will be stuck on there. But by the time you actually get one of these wands, you should have a chainsaw, so that would be extremely easy for you to just throw on there and fix it up. Alright, well, hopefully you learned more in this one. Sorry, the last one, like I said, I was still learning about multicast wands, and they're quite a bit stubborn. You will take a lot of time fixing them, but if it's the only thing you have to work with, then by all means, put it to good use and use it to get to your next wand. I would definitely appreciate if you were to like and subscribe if you learned something. I'm trying to release as much tutorials and new content on Noita that I can. So yeah, stay tuned and have a wonderful evening, noon, and night. Goodbye.